Have you ever considered what it truly means to be alive? We often view life through the lens of our own experiences, a cycle of birth, growth, and the quiet, inevitable end. But the tapestry of existence is woven with threads far stranger, far more terrifying than we can comfortably comprehend. There are lives lived in perpetual darkness, cycles of birth that mock death itself, and forms of survival so brutal they curdle the very notion of a natural order. What if I told you that right now, in the hidden corners of our world, there are creatures whose entire lives are a living, breathing nightmare? Close your eyes. Let the sound of my voice be an anchor in the quiet of your room. We are about to drift into a world of bizarre realities, of lives so alien they might as well be from a distant, inhospitable planet. As you settle in, finding that perfect position of comfort, I want you to consider a simple question. What is the most fundamental rule of life? Is it to live and let live, or is it something far more sinister, a relentless drive to survive, no matter the cost? The answer, as you will soon discover, is not as simple as you might think. Before we delve deeper into these unsettling truths, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue these journeys into the unknown. And as you lie there, drifting, leave a comment below telling us where you are in the world and what time it is for you. It's a comforting thought, isn't it, to know that we are all connected in this moment of quiet contemplation, a global community of curious minds, all seeking a peaceful night's rest. Now let the world outside fade away. Let the worries of your day dissolve into the darkness. We are going to begin our exploration in a place where the sun is a forgotten myth, a realm of crushing pressure and eternal night, the deep ocean. Here, in the abyssal plains, thousands of feet below the surface, the rules of life are rewritten. The weight of the water above is immense, a constant, suffocating embrace that would pulverize any creature not built for this extreme environment. It is a world of profound silence, broken only by the faint, ghostly flickers of bioluminescence. And it is here that we encounter our first subject, a creature whose existence is a masterpiece of macabre efficiency, the deep-sea anglerfish. Picture a darkness so complete it feels solid, a void where the only light is that which is created by the inhabitants themselves. In this oppressive blackness, the female anglerfish drifts, a grotesque beacon of hope and despair. From her head sprouts a fleshy, bioluminescent lure, a fishing rod of living tissue that dangles a ghostly light in front of her cavernous mouth, a mouth lined with rows of needle-sharp, translucent teeth. This light, a product of a symbiotic relationship with glowing bacteria, is her siren song, a hypnotic promise of sustenance in a world where meals are few and far between. Imagine being a small, deep-sea fish, your entire existence a desperate search for the faintest glimmer of food. You see a light, a gentle, pulsing orb in the distance. It's the first light you've seen in what feels like an eternity. Hope blossoms in your tiny heart. You swim towards it, your weary fins propelling you through the cold, inky water. The light grows brighter, more inviting. You are so close now, so close to what you believe is your salvation. And then, in a sudden, violent explosion of movement, the light vanishes, and you are engulfed by an immense, tooth-filled cavern. There is no struggle, no escape, just a swift, silent end in the belly of the beast. This is the grim reality of the anglerfish's hunt, a life of patient, deadly deception. But the true nightmare fuel of the anglerfish's existence lies not in how it eats, but in how it loves. In the vast, lonely expanse of the deep sea, finding a mate is a monumental challenge. The male anglerfish, a creature a fraction of the size of the female, is born with a single purpose: to find a female. He is a pathetic, underdeveloped creature with a powerful sense of smell, his only real asset. He follows the pheromone trail of a female through the endless dark, a journey that is his entire life's work. When he finally finds her, he does not court her. He does not dance or display his prowess. He bites her, he sinks his teeth into her side, and he never lets go. His body then begins to dissolve. His jaw fuses with her skin, his circulatory systems merge, and he becomes little more than a parasitic appendage. a living pair of testes attached to her body. He loses his eyes, his fins, his internal organs, everything that made him an individual. He is now just a part of her, a constant source of sperm for when she is ready to reproduce. Sometimes, a female can be found with multiple males attached to her, a grotesque collection of former individuals, their lives reduced to a single biological function. A life that ends in complete absorption into another, a loss of self so total it is difficult to fathom. Is this a successful life? From a biological standpoint, absolutely. It is a perfect adaptation to an environment where finding a mate is a near impossibility. But from our perspective, it is a chilling portrait of existence, a life that is a mere prelude to becoming a living, breathing organ for another. It begs the question, what other forms of self-sacrifice, what other bizarre biological contracts are being fulfilled in the hidden corners of our world? What if a creature could not only survive a horrific end, but could actually reverse it, turning back the clock on its own life? Let us now leave the crushing pressures of the deep sea and drift into the warm, sunlit waters of the Mediterranean. Here, in the gentle currents, lives a creature that has achieved what humanity has only ever dreamed of: immortality. It is a tiny, unassuming jellyfish, no bigger than your pinky nail, known as Turritopsis dochni, the immortal jellyfish. Its life begins as most jellyfish do, as a tiny, free-swimming larva called a planula. The planula soon settles on the seafloor, attaching itself to a rock or a piece of coral, and transforms into a polyp, a stalk-like creature that resembles a miniature sea anemone. This polyp then buds, releasing genetically identical, free-swimming medusas, the bell-shaped creatures we typically think of as jellyfish. This medusa will grow, it will hunt, it will reproduce, and then, when it faces the end of its life, whether from old age, injury, or environmental stress, something remarkable happens. Instead of dying, Turritopsis dohrnii can reverse its life cycle. Its bell begins to fold in on itself, its tentacles retract, and it sinks back to the seafloor. It then transforms back into a polyp, a new colony of life from which new medusas will eventually bud. It is a process of cellular transdifferentiation, where its cells, instead of dying, revert to an earlier state, and then transform into different types of cells, effectively rebooting the jellyfish's life. It is not a fountain of youth, but a biological time machine. It can, theoretically, repeat this cycle forever, making it biologically immortal. Imagine a life without end, a constant loop of birth, maturity, and a return to infancy. You would watch continents drift, mountains rise and fall, species evolve and go extinct. You would witness the entirety of human history, a fleeting moment in your endless existence. Would this be a gift or an unbearable curse? To live forever, but to constantly lose the self you have become, to revert to a more primitive form, your memories, if you had any, wiped clean, an endless cycle of becoming, without ever truly being. This tiny jellyfish, in its silent cyclical existence, presents us with a profound philosophical quandary. We strive for longevity, for ways to turn back the clock on our own aging. But Turritopsis dohrnii shows us that immortality may not be the grand prize we imagine it to be. It may be a lonely, repetitive journey, a life lived in circles, forever starting over, a life that is, in its own way, a prison of endless renewal. It makes one wonder about the nature of identity. If a creature can so completely change its form, is it still the same creature? At what point does the self cease to be? And what other creatures have found ways to bend the rules of life and death in ways that are just as unsettling? Perhaps the answer lies not in the sea, but in the green, sun-dappled world of our own backyards. Let us now transport ourselves to a summer garden, a place of vibrant life and buzzing activity. The air is warm, filled with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves of a rose bush, and perched upon a leaf, a creature of elegant, geometric beauty, a predator of supreme patience, the praying mantis. With its triangular head, its large, intelligent eyes, and its powerful, spiny forelegs, held in a posture of serene contemplation, the praying mantis appears almost regal, a Zen master of the insect world. It is a master of camouflage, blending seamlessly with the foliage, waiting for its prey to come to it. And when an unsuspecting fly or beetle wanders too close, the mantis strikes with lightning speed, its forelegs unfolding to snatch the victim from the air. It is a swift, efficient hunter, a vital part of the garden's ecosystem. But there is a darker side to this creature's life, a ritual so infamous it has become a byword for macabre romance, sexual cannibalism. When a male praying mantis approaches a female to mate, he does so with extreme caution. He is often smaller than she is, and he knows that he is not just a potential partner, but also a potential meal. He may perform a slow, hesitant dance, trying to appease her, to signal his intentions. If he is successful, he will mount her and begin the process of insemination. And it is here that the nightmare truly begins. Sometimes, in the middle of the act, the female will turn her head, her powerful mandibles reaching back, and she will begin to eat him, starting with his head. But the male's body, even without its head, will continue to function, his abdomen still delivering the sperm that will fertilize her eggs. In fact, some studies suggest that the removal of the head actually enhances the male's reproductive performance, as it severs the connection to a part of the brain that can inhibit the mating process. Imagine a final act of love that is also an act of total consumption, a union that ends in one partner being devoured by the other. The male, in his final moments, fulfills his biological destiny, ensuring the survival of his genes, while simultaneously becoming the nourishment that will help his offspring grow. It is a brutal, yet chillingly practical arrangement. The female gains a vital source of protein, which will give her the energy to produce a large and healthy egg sac. The male, in death, contributes more to the next generation than he ever could in life. This act, so shocking to our sensibilities, is a stark reminder that nature is not sentimental. It is a realm of cold, hard calculus, where the survival of the species is paramount, and the individual is often just a means to an end. It forces us to question our own definitions of love, of sacrifice, of purpose. Is the male mantis a tragic victim or a willing participant in a grand evolutionary strategy? Is his demise a horror or a beautiful, albeit gruesome, act of parental investment? And what other creatures engage in reproductive rituals that are just as, if not more, unsettling? What if the very ground beneath our feet is home to a creature that experiences reality in a way that is so alien it borders on the supernatural? Let us now leave the sunlit garden and burrow deep into the earth, into a world of damp soil and writhing worms, a realm of utter blackness. Here, in the lightless tunnels of the subterranean world, lives a creature that seems to have crawled out of a science fiction nightmare, the star-nosed mole. This small, unassuming mammal is not much to look at in terms of its body. It is a typical mole, with dense, velvety fur, powerful forelimbs for digging, and tiny, almost useless eyes. But its face is something else entirely. At the end of its snout is a star, a grotesque, fleshy appendage with 22 writhing, pink tentacles. This star is not a nose for smelling, but an organ of touch so sensitive it can detect seismic waves travelling through the earth. It is, in essence, the mole's eye, a way of seeing the world through touch. Each of these tentacles is covered in thousands of microscopic sensory receptors called Eimer's organs, making the star-nosed mole's sense of touch one of the most acute in the animal kingdom. It can scan its environment with incredible speed, touching up to 12 different places in a single second. In the pitch-black darkness of its tunnels, the mole creates a mental map of its surroundings as a three-dimensional image built entirely from tactile information. It can distinguish between edible and inedible objects in a fraction of a second, making it one of the fastest foragers on the planet. Imagine experiencing the world in this way. Your reality is not defined by light and shadow, but by texture and vibration. You see the world through the tips of your fingers, or in the mole's case, the writhing tentacles on your face. The smooth shell of a beetle, the soft body of an earthworm, the rough grain of a root. These are the colours and shapes of your world. It is a reality so different from our own, it is almost impossible to comprehend. The star-nosed mole's existence is a testament to the incredible adaptability of life, to its ability to find a way to thrive in even the most challenging of environments. But there is something inherently unsettling about this creature, about its alien appearance and its bizarre sensory world. It is a reminder that our perception of reality is just one of many, and that there are other ways of being, other ways of experiencing the universe, that are far stranger than we can imagine. It is a creature that seems to have been designed by a mad god, a being that is both fascinating and deeply unnerving. The mole's life is a solitary one, spent in the dark, feeling its way through a world of textures and vibrations. It is a life of constant, high-speed information processing, a frantic, tactile existence that is both a marvel of evolution and a source of quiet dread. It makes you wonder what other sensory worlds exist that we are completely unaware of. What other creatures are experiencing a reality that is completely alien to our own? And what if the most terrifying nightmares are not found in the deep sea or the dark earth, but are carried on the gentle breeze of a summer's day, delivered by an unsuspecting messenger? Let us return to the warmth of the sun, to a peaceful clearing in a tropical forest. The air is alive with the hum of insects, the call of exotic birds. A gentle wind rustles the broad leaves of the trees. It is a scene of idyllic tranquility. But here, in this paradise, a sinister plot is unfolding, a story of biological espionage, an unwilling parenthood that is the stuff of nightmares. This is the world of the human botfly. The botfly itself is a rather unassuming insect, resembling a small hairy bumblebee. It does not bite or sting. It is, in its adult form, completely harmless, but its method of reproduction is a masterpiece of diabolical ingenuity. The female botfly does not lay her eggs on a host directly. Instead, she captures another insect, typically a mosquito or a tick, an insect that is already programmed to seek out a warm-blooded mammal. She then glues her eggs to the belly of this unwilling courier. The mosquito, now carrying a payload of botfly eggs, goes about its business, searching for its next meal. When it lands on a warm-skinned mammal, a monkey, a cow, or even a human, the warmth of the host's body triggers the botfly eggs to hatch. The tiny larvae, no bigger than a grain of sand, drop onto the skin and begin to burrow, often using the mosquito bite as a convenient entry point. The host may feel a slight itch, a minor irritation, but is otherwise unaware of the invasion that has just taken place. Once inside, the larva creates a small chamber for itself, a fleshy, subcutaneous home. It has two small hooks on its head, which it uses to anchor itself in place. And at its rear end, it has a breathing tube, which it keeps positioned just at the surface of the skin, a tiny, dark pinprick that allows it to breathe the outside air. And here, in this warm, safe, and well-nourished environment, the larva will live and grow for the next 5 to 12 weeks. Imagine the psychological horror of knowing that you are playing host to a living, breathing creature, a parasite that is feeding on your own flesh, growing larger and larger with each passing day. You might feel a dull, throbbing pain, a sensation of movement beneath your skin. You might see the small breathing hole, a constant, horrifying reminder of the uninvited guest that has taken up residence in your body. There is a profound sense of violation, a feeling of being a living incubator for something alien and repulsive. The larva, for its part, is simply following its programming. It is not malicious, it is merely surviving, growing, preparing for the next stage of its life. And when it is fully mature, a fat, spiny grub, nearly an inch long, it will begin to wriggle its way out of its fleshy prison, a slow, agonizing process for the host. Once free, it will drop to the ground, burrow into the soil and pupate, eventually emerging as an adult botfly, ready to begin the cycle anew. The life of the botfly is a chilling example of nature's capacity for what we would call cruelty. It is a life that is built on deception, on the exploitation of other creatures, on a violation of the most fundamental boundaries of the self. It is a story that turns the stomach, that makes the skin crawl, and it serves as a stark, unsettling introduction to a world that is even more bizarre, even more terrifying than the lives we have explored tonight. A world where the lines between host and guest, between predator and prey, are blurred into a horrifying tapestry of codependent survival. The botfly, in its gruesome life cycle, is a gateway to this world. It is a creature that lives part of its life inside another, a temporary resident in a house of flesh. But what if this relationship was not temporary? What if a creature's entire existence was defined by its ability to live inside, and at the expense of another? What horrors await us when we delve into the world of true parasites? The creatures we have met tonight, the anglerfish, the immortal jellyfish, the praying mantis, the star-nosed mole, and the botfly, each represent a different flavour of nightmare fuel. They have shown us that life can be a cycle of endless repetition, a brief prelude to a gruesome end, a solitary existence in a world of alien sensations, or a violation of the very body you call home. Their lives are a testament to the endless and often terrifying creativity of evolution. But as we drift now, on the edge of sleep, a new question begins to form in the quiet darkness of our minds. What if the most successful life forms on our planet are not the strongest, or the fastest, or even the most intelligent? What if they are the ones that have mastered the art of living off of others, the silent, invisible invaders that thrive in the shadows of the living? Our journey tonight has been but a glimpse into the bizarre, but the path ahead leads to a place far more intimate and far more unsettling. It leads us into the world of parasitic creatures. The lives we have just witnessed, in their strange and unsettling beauty, have shown us that the rules of existence are far more flexible than we might imagine. They have stretched our understanding of what it means to live, to love, and to die. The botfly, in its ghastly ingenuity, served as our guide to the very edge of this bizarre world, showing us a life that begins within the unwilling flesh of another. It was a brief, horrifying visit into a home that was not its own, but we were only standing at the doorway. Now, it is time to step inside. Let your body grow heavier, your breath deeper. We are about to venture into a realm where the very concept of self is a fluid, negotiable thing, a world where life does not simply coexist, but intertwines in the most intimate and terrifying ways imaginable. This is the secret world of parasitic creatures. Forget the predators that strike with tooth and claw. The true masters of this planet are far more subtle. They do not need to be stronger or faster than their victims. They simply need to be smarter. They are masters of manipulation, biological puppeteers that can seize control of their host's body, their mind, their very will. What does it mean to be in control of your own life? Is it the freedom to make your own choices, to direct your own path? And what happens when that control is stolen from you, not by force, but by a silent, insidious invasion from within? The answers lie in the stories of these hidden architects of the natural world. Our first destination is not a dark jungle or a mysterious deep sea, but the sun-dappled coastal waters of the ocean, a place teeming with vibrant schools of fish. Imagine you are a spotted rose snapper, a beautiful fish with a pinkish hue and bright, curious eyes. You spend your days exploring coral reefs, foraging for small crustaceans, living the simple, uncomplicated life of a fish. One day, you feel a strange sensation in your gills, a slight irritation. You may try to shake it, to rub against a piece of coral, but the feeling persists. It is the arrival of a creature called Simathoa exigua, a type of isopod, a crustacean related to the common woodlouse you might find in a damp garden. But this is no harmless scavenger. This is the tongue-eating louse. The young louse, small and agile, enters through your gills, the gateways to your respiratory system. It navigates the intricate, delicate structures of your breathing apparatus and makes its way into your mouth. There, it finds what it has been searching for, your tongue. It attaches itself to the base of your tongue with its 7 pairs of sharp, grasping claws, and it begins to feed. It is a vampire in the truest sense, piercing the blood vessels in your tongue and drinking its fill of your lifeblood. As the days turn into weeks, the louse grows larger, its body swelling with the nourishment it has stolen from you. Your tongue, deprived of its blood supply, begins to wither. It becomes pale, then grey, slowly atrophying, until it is nothing more than a dead, useless stump. But the louse does not leave. Its work is not yet done. It has grown so large now that it perfectly fills the space where your tongue used to be. It settles in, its own body becoming a permanent, living replacement for the organ it has destroyed. From this day forward, you, the fish, will use the louse as your tongue. You will use its hard, armoured body to manipulate your food, to push it towards your gullet. The louse survives now by consuming the mucus in your mouth, and perhaps by sharing in the scraps of food that you catch. It has become a part of you, a grotesque living prosthetic, a constant, unwelcome passenger in the most intimate of spaces. Imagine the horror of this existence, to have a part of your own body die and be replaced by a living, breathing creature. A creature that you must now use to perform one of the most basic functions of life. You are no longer a single organism, but a strange, unwilling chimera, a fusion of fish and crustacean. The louse has not killed you. In a way, it has allowed you to live, but it is a life that has been fundamentally, irrevocably altered. A life where you are forever tethered to the parasite that has made your body its home. It is a complete physical takeover. But what if the invasion was not of the body, but of the mind? What if a parasite could seize control of its host's brain, turning it into a mindless puppet, a vehicle for its own dark purposes? Let us drift now from the ocean to the floor of a tropical rainforest in Thailand or Brazil. The air here is thick with humidity, the ground a carpet of decaying leaves. A common carpenter ant is foraging, going about its daily routine, searching for food for its colony. As it walks across a leaf, it unknowingly picks up a microscopic passenger, a single spore of a fungus known as a Pheocordyceps unilateralis. This is no ordinary fungus. This is the zombie ant fungus. The spore quickly penetrates the ant's exoskeleton and begins to multiply within its body. It does not attack the ant's vital organs, not at first. It needs its host to remain alive, to walk, to climb. Instead, the fungus grows as a network of thread-like filaments called mycelia, weaving themselves around the ant's muscle fibers, infiltrating its nervous system. The fungus begins to produce a cocktail of chemicals, compounds that target the ant's brain and alter its behavior. The infected ant, now under the control of its fungal overlord, begins to act erratically. It abandons its normal foraging duties, its social obligations to the colony. It seems confused, disoriented. It begins to twitch, to convulse. Then, as the fungus takes complete control, the ant is driven to do something it would never do on its own. It leaves the safety of its colony on the forest floor and begins to climb. It climbs up the stem of a plant, a slow, deliberate ascent. The fungus is guiding it, forcing it upwards. It is looking for a very specific location. It needs a leaf that is precisely 25 centimeters above the ground, on the north side of the plant, in a spot with 95% humidity and a temperature between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius. This is the perfect microclimate for the fungus to reproduce. The ant has no choice in the matter. It is a puppet, its own mind silenced by the chemical whispers of the fungus. When the ant reaches the designated leaf, it is compelled to perform its final act. It crawls to the underside of the leaf, positions itself over the central vein, and it bites down with all its remaining strength. This is the death grip. The ant's jaw muscles lock, its mandibles sinking so deeply into the leaf that it will remain there even after death. Its purpose fulfilled, the ant dies, but the fungus is very much alive. Now, safe in its elevated, climate-controlled perch, the fungus can complete its life cycle. It consumes the ant's internal organs, filling its body cavity with its own fungal tissue. And then, a sight of pure biological horror, a long, slender stalk begins to grow out of the back of the ant's head. This is the fruiting body of the fungus. It grows for days, a grim monument to the ant's demise. And when it is mature, it will release its own spores, which will rain down upon the forest floor below, upon the unsuspecting ants of the colony, ready to begin the cycle of zombification anew. The zombie ant fungus is a master of behavioral control. It turns a living creature into a self-propelled, climate-seeking missile for its own spores. It is a level of manipulation so precise, so specific, it is difficult to comprehend. The fungus knows exactly where it needs to go, and it uses the ant's own body to get there. It is a chilling reminder that even our own actions, our own desires, may not be entirely our own. But this manipulation, as precise as it is still a shotgun approach, a flood of chemicals that overwhelms the host's brain. What if the control could be even more refined? What if a parasite could perform a kind of neurosurgery, targeting specific parts of the brain to achieve a level of control that is even more terrifying in its subtlety? For this, we journey to the hot, arid landscapes of Africa, India, and the Pacific Islands. A common cockroach is skittering across the dusty ground, its antennae twitching, sensing the world around it. Suddenly, a flash of iridescent green and blue, a jewel in the desert sun. It is the emerald cockroach wasp. She is smaller than the cockroach, less powerful, but she is infinitely more cunning. She is not here to kill the cockroach. She is here to enslave it. The wasp attacks, and her strategy is one of astonishing precision. She delivers 2 stings. The first sting is to the cockroach's thorax, a quick jab that delivers a venom that temporarily paralyzes its front legs. The cockroach is now immobilized, but still very much alive and aware. Now the wasp begins the second phase of her attack, the part that is a marvel of biological engineering. She angles her stinger towards the cockroach's head, feeling for the exact right spot. She then inserts her stinger into the cockroach's neck and guides it carefully into its brain. She is not delivering a lethal dose of venom. This is not a sledgehammer, this is a scalpel. She injects a second, more complex cocktail of chemicals directly into 2 specific ganglia within the cockroach's brain. This venom is a neurotoxin that blocks the receptors for a neurotransmitter called octopamine. Octopamine is what controls the cockroach's motivation to initiate movement, its fight or flight response. By blocking it, the wasp does not paralyze the cockroach. It does something far more insidious. It removes the cockroach's will to escape. The cockroach is now a perfect zombie. It can walk, it can run, it can stand, but it will not, it cannot initiate these actions on its own. It is a living, breathing, but utterly compliant slave. The wasp, her neurosurgery complete, now does something truly chilling. She takes the cockroach's antennae in her mandibles, and she leads it, like a dog on a leash, back to her burrow. The cockroach follows placidly, its own survival instincts completely erased. Once inside the burrow, the wasp lays a single white egg on the cockroach's abdomen. She then exits the burrow and seals the entrance with pebbles and dirt, entombing the cockroach inside. The cockroach does not struggle. It does not try to dig its way out. It simply stands there, in the dark, and waits. A few days later, the wasp egg hatches, and the larva burrows into the cockroach's body. For the next week, it will feed on the cockroach's organs in a specific order, keeping its host alive for as long as possible. The cockroach, still under the influence of the wasp's venom, does not resist. It is a living larder, a fresh, nutritious meal for the growing wasp larva. Finally, the larva will pupate within the hollowed-out shell of the cockroach, and eventually emerge as an adult wasp, ready to continue this gruesome cycle. This story, perhaps more than any other, forces us to confront the very nature of consciousness and free will. The cockroach is alive, its body is functional, but itself, its will to survive, has been surgically removed. It is a biological robot, a mindless vehicle for the propagation of another species. It is a nightmare that blurs the line between life and death, between being and non-being. It begs the question, how many other unseen forces are at play in the natural world, pulling the strings of life in ways we can barely begin to perceive? And what is the grander purpose of these intricate, terrifying relationships? It is easy to cast these parasites as villains in the drama of life. The tongue-eating louse, the zombie ant fungus, the emerald cockroach wasp. Their methods are, to us, the stuff of horror films. But in the grand scheme of evolution, there is no good or evil. There is only what works. And parasitism is one of the most successful life strategies on Earth. It is estimated that for every free living species, there is at least one species of parasite that depends on it. Parasites are not an anomaly, they are the norm. They are a fundamental driving force of evolution and biodiversity. They are the ultimate evolutionary innovators. The complex chemical cocktails they produce, The intricate ways they manipulate their hosts' bodies and minds are the result of millions of years of a relentless arms race. As the host develops new defenses, the parasite must develop new ways to overcome them. This constant back and forth, this dance of adaptation and counter-adaptation, is one of the primary engines of change in the natural world. It creates new species, new behaviors, new levels of biological complexity. Parasites are also the secret architects of ecosystems. By controlling the populations of their hosts, they can have a profound impact on the entire food web. An outbreak of a parasite in a dominant species can create opportunities for other species to thrive, increasing the overall biodiversity of the habitat. The zombie ant fungus, for example, by killing ants high up on leaves, prevents any single colony from becoming too dominant on the forest floor, maintaining a delicate balance in the ecosystem. They are not just takers, they are regulators, the unseen hand that shapes the landscape of life. As we drift deeper now into the quiet of the night, let the stories of these creatures reshape your understanding of the world. The world is not just a collection of individuals, but a vast, interconnected network of dependencies, a web of life where the lines between one creature and another are often blurred and indistinct. The struggle for survival is not always a battle of strength, but often a contest of wits, of deception, of intimate, terrifying coexistence. The next time you feel a slight unexplained itch, or see an insect behaving strangely, perhaps you will remember these stories. You will remember the fish that speaks with a living tongue, the ant that dies for a fungus's dream, the cockroach that walks willingly to its own consumption, and you will understand that the world is far more complex, far more bizarre, and far more beautifully horrifying than you ever imagined. Let this thought not disturb you, but soothe you. It is a reminder that you are part of a grand, ancient, and mysterious tapestry, a tapestry woven with threads of life and death, of control and submission, of endless, fascinating, and terrifying ingenuity. Now, there is nothing left to do but to let go, to drift, to sleep. The world of the parasite has shown us that life can be an invasion, a theft of will, a merging of bodies so complete that the self is lost. It is a horror born of intimacy, of a closeness that consumes. But what of the horrors born of isolation? What terrors evolve in a place so vast, so crushingly empty, that life must contort itself into new and monstrous shapes just to survive? We have explored the nightmares that live within. Now let us drift away from the world of flesh and blood hosts and descend into a realm of pure, absolute otherness. A world within our world, yet more alien than any distant planet. Let the sound of my voice be your anchor as we sink down, down, into the eternal midnight of the abyss. Leave the sun behind. It is a forgotten memory here. We are passing through the twilight zone, where the last vestiges of light fade into a uniform velvety blue. The pressure is building, a relentless weight that would crush a submarine like a tin can. The temperature is plunging to near freezing. We are entering a world that was, until very recently, completely beyond our reach. A world that still holds more secrets than the surface of the moon. This is the abyssal plain, the deep sea. And the creatures that live here are not merely animals. They are living embodiments of the darkness, shaped by the crushing pressure and the profound, unending cold. They are beings of nightmare and wonder. What kind of life can blossom in a garden of absolute blackness under the weight of 1,000 atmospheres? The answer is a life of exquisite, terrifying strangeness. Our first encounter in this deep, dark cathedral of nature is with a creature whose very name conjures images of gothic horror, Vampira toothis infernalis, the vampire squid from hell. The name was given by early explorers who, upon pulling this creature from the depths, were startled by its appearance. A cloak of dark, velvety skin, webbing that connects its 8 arms, and large, luminous eyes that seemed to glow with a spectral red light in the darkness. It seemed a monster, a blood-sucking fiend of the abyss. But the truth, as is so often the case in the deep sea, is far stranger and far less menacing than its name suggests. The vampire squid is not a hunter of blood. It is a gentle, passive creature, a relic from a time before modern squids and octopuses evolved. It is a living fossil, the last surviving member of its own unique order. Its dark, webbed cloak is not for aggression, but for defense. When threatened, it does not attack. It pulls this webbing up and over its body, turning itself inside out to reveal rows of soft, fleshy spines called cirri. It becomes a spiny ball, its most vulnerable parts protected. But its most spectacular defense is its use of light. In the absolute darkness of its home, between 2,000 and 3,000 feet down, light is a language, and the vampire squid is a master of this language. At the tips of its arms are photophores, organs that can produce their own light. When a predator approaches, the squid can unleash a confusing, dazzling display of bioluminescence, a sort of deep-sea fireworks show. But its most unique trick involves a different kind of light. It can eject a sticky cloud of glowing mucus from its arm tips, a substance filled with thousands of tiny sparkling orbs of light. This glowing cloud can hang in the water for several minutes, confusing and distracting the predator, while the vampire squid, its own lights extinguished, vanishes into the blackness. It is a ghost, leaving behind only a constellation of fading stars. This gentle creature does not hunt for living prey. The energy required for a chase is too much to expend in this cold, food-scarce world. Instead, it feeds on what is known as marine snow, the constant, gentle rain of organic detritus that drifts down from the sunlit world above. Dead plankton, fish scales, fecal pellets, the shed exoskeletons of tiny crustaceans. This is the manna of the deep sea. The vampire squid drifts through the water with two long, retractable filaments extended, each one covered in tiny, sticky hairs. As the marine snow settles on these filaments, the squid retracts them, scrapes off the accumulated particles with its arms, and bundles them into a ball of mucus before eating. It is a scavenger of cosmic dust, a creature that survives on the ghosts of the world above. The vampire squid from hell is, in reality, a delicate, beautiful, and profoundly lonely creature, a master of illusion and a symbol of serene survival in an impossibly harsh world. Its existence is a quiet poem written in light and darkness. It shows us that even in a place we imagine to be filled with monsters, there is grace and ingenuity. But not all creatures of the abyss are so gentle. Not all have forsaken the hunt. What happens when a predator adapts not by being passive, but by evolving a weapon so bizarre, so alien, it seems to defy the laws of biology? What kind of hunter can thrive where the only rule is to wait and watch in the unending dark? Let us sink deeper now, into the bathyal zone, to depths of over 4,000 feet. Here, the water is a crushing, silent void, and in this void drifts a creature that truly deserves the title of living nightmare. It is the goblin shark, Mitsucarina austoni. This is another living fossil, a shark whose lineage stretches back over 125 million years. It is a creature that should not exist, a relic of a bygone age that has somehow persisted in the timeless, unchanging environment of the deep sea. Its appearance is profoundly unsettling. It has a soft, flabby body with a pinkish-white hue, the result of blood vessels showing through its translucent skin. Its fins are small and rounded. It looks weak, almost sickly, but its head is what commands horrified attention. It has a long, flattened, blade-like snout, like a dagger projecting from its face. And beneath this snout are its eyes, two tiny black beads that seem incapable of forming a clear image in the dark. But the true horror lies in its mouth. When closed, it seems almost comically small and underdeveloped, but this is an illusion. The goblin shark is a master of ambush. It drifts slowly, silently through the water, a pink phantom in the black. Its long snout is not just for show. It is covered in hundreds of tiny pores, the openings to its ampullae of Lorenzini, electroreceptors that can detect the faint, minuscule electrical fields produced by the muscle contractions of other living creatures. The shark cannot see its prey. It feels it, sensing its bioelectric signature in the water around it. A small fish, a squid, a crab on the seafloor. It detects a flicker of life, and then it unleashes its secret weapon. In a fraction of a second, its entire jaw apparatus catapults forward. The ligaments that hold its jaw in place are highly elastic. When it attacks, the jaw slingshots forward, extending to the very end of its long snout, its mouth morphing from a small slit into a vast gaping cavern filled with long, needle-like teeth. It is a motion of biological whiplash, a biomechanical marvel of terrifying efficiency. The jaws snap shut on the unsuspecting prey, which never saw its attacker, never knew what was coming. Then, just as quickly, the jaws retract back into the shark's head, pulling the meal with them. To witness this is to witness a living special effect, a creature whose face literally explodes outwards to capture its food. It is an adaptation born of necessity in a world where prey is scarce and must be captured with absolute certainty on the first try. The goblin shark is a testament to the fact that evolution, given enough time and enough pressure, will produce solutions that are more bizarre than anything our own imaginations can conjure. It is a creature that reminds us that the deep sea is a museum of ancient, terrifying life forms, a place where the monsters of prehistory still roam. Its method of hunting is a masterpiece of sensory biology and biomechanics. But what of the creatures that have mastered not the senses, but the very light that is so absent in this world? What if a creature could create its own hope, its own lure, in the heart of the eternal night? For this, we return to a creature we have met before, but whose full story we have yet to explore, the deep-sea anglerfish. We have spoken of its macabre love life, the parasitic fusion of male and female, but this is only one of its many adaptations to the abyssal plane. Let us now consider its life not as a lover, but as a solitary queen of the darkness, a being perfectly sculpted by the immense forces of the deep. The vampire squid from hell is in reality a delicate, beautiful, and profoundly lonely creature, a master of illusion and a symbol of serene survival in an impossibly harsh world. Its existence is a quiet poem written in light and darkness. It shows us that even in a place we imagine to be filled with monsters, there is grace and ingenuity. But not all creatures of the abyss are so gentle. Not all have forsaken the hunt. What happens when a predator adapts not by being passive, but by evolving a weapon so bizarre, so alien, it seems to defy the laws of biology? What kind of hunter can thrive where the only rule is to wait and watch in the unending dark? Let us sink deeper now, into the bathyal zone, to depths of over 4,000 feet. Here, the water is a crushing, silent void, and in this void drifts a creature that truly deserves the title of living nightmare. It is the goblin shark, Mitsukarina alstoni. This is another living fossil, a shark whose lineage stretches back over 125 million years. It is a creature that should not exist, a relic of a bygone age that has somehow persisted in the timeless, unchanging environment of the deep sea. Its appearance is profoundly unsettling. It has a soft, flabby body with a pinkish-white hue, the result of blood vessels showing through its translucent skin. Its fins are small and rounded. It looks weak, almost sickly, but its head is what commands horrified attention. It has a long, flattened or blade-like snout, like a dagger projecting from its face. And beneath this snout are its eyes, two tiny black beads that seem incapable of forming a clear image in the dark. But the true horror lies in its mouth. When closed, it seems almost comically small and underdeveloped, but this is an illusion. The goblin shark is a master of ambush. It drifts slowly, silently through the water, a pink phantom in the black. Its long snout is not just for show. It is covered in hundreds of tiny pores, the openings to its ampullae of Lorenzini, electroreceptors that can detect the faint, minuscule electrical fields produced by the muscle contractions of other living creatures. The shark cannot see its prey. It feels it, sensing its bioelectric signature in the water around it. A small fish, a squid, a crab on the seafloor. It detects a flicker of life, and then it unleashes its secret weapon. In a fraction of a second, its entire jaw apparatus catapults forward. The ligaments that hold its jaw in place are highly elastic. When it attacks, the jaw slingshots forward, extending to the very end of its long snout, its mouth morphing from a small slit into a vast, gaping cavern filled with long, needle-like teeth. It is a motion of biological whiplash, a biomechanical marvel of terrifying efficiency. The jaws snap shut on the unsuspecting prey, which never saw its attacker, never knew what was coming. Then, just as quickly, the jaws retract back into the shark's head, pulling the meal with them. To witness this is to witness a living special effect, a creature whose face literally explodes outwards to capture its food. It is an adaptation born of necessity in a world where prey is scarce and must be captured with absolute certainty on the first try. The goblin shark is a testament to the fact that evolution, given enough time and enough pressure, will produce solutions that are more bizarre than anything our own imaginations can conjure. It is a creature that reminds us that the deep sea is a museum of ancient, terrifying life forms, a place where the monsters of prehistory still roam. Its method of hunting is a masterpiece of sensory biology and biomechanics. But what of the creatures that have mastered not the senses, but the very light that is so absent in this world? What if a creature could create its own hope, its own lure, in the heart of the eternal night? For this, we return to a creature we have met before, but whose full story we have yet to explore, the deep-sea anglerfish. We have spoken of its macabre love life, the parasitic fusion of male and female, but this is only one of its many adaptations to the abyssal plane. Let us now consider its life not as a lover, but as a solitary queen of the darkness, a being perfectly sculpted by the immense forces of the deep. These robotic explorers have shown us the vampire squid's gentle dance with marine snow. They have captured the goblin shark's lightning-fast, jaw-protruding strike. They have filmed the anglerfish, hanging in the blackness, her lure pulsing with its hypnotic, ghostly light. They have revealed that this world, which we once imagined to be a barren, lifeless desert, is in fact a vibrant, complex ecosystem, filled with creatures more wondrous and more terrifying than we could have ever dreamed. As we begin our slow ascent, leaving the crushing, silent world of the abyss behind, let the images of these creatures linger in your mind. The gentle vampire squid, a ghost that feeds on stardust. The primeval goblin shark, a pink phantom with an explosive face. The patient anglerfish, a living star in an endless night. They are a testament to the incredible power of life, to adapt, to innovate, to find a way to exist in the most inhospitable corners of our own planet. They are the true aliens of our world, beings that live in a realm so different from our own that it challenges our very definition of what is normal, of what is possible. Their existence is a quiet, profound question, whispered from the depths. A question about the limits of life, the nature of adaptation, and the vast, unexplored mysteries that still lie hidden in the heart of our own world. As you drift now, on the edge of sleep, imagine that you are floating in that gentle, silent darkness. The pressure is gone, the cold is gone, there is only peace, and the faint, distant, beautiful lights of the deep. We have journeyed to the bottom of the sea, a world of crushing pressure and eternal night, and found life not only surviving, but thriving in monstrous and beautiful forms. The creatures of the abyss have adapted to one of the most stable, yet extreme environments on our planet. Their evolution has been a slow, steady march into the darkness. But what of the creatures who face not one, but a multitude of shifting, violent extremes? What of the life that endures not just the crushing dark, but the searing heat, the absolute cold, the desiccating drought, and even the unforgiving vacuum of space itself? We have seen how life contorts itself to fit its environment. But what if life could simply refuse to die? What does it mean to be truly indestructible? Let your body relax, let your mind drift, as we explore the lives of the ultimate survivors, the beings that defy death itself. Soothing, ambient music shifts, becoming more ethereal and wondrous. There are limits to our own existence, boundaries of heat and cold, of pressure and radiation that we cannot cross. We see life and death as a one-way street, a journey from a definitive beginning to an inevitable end. But the book of life is filled with chapters that defy this simple narrative. There are creatures for whom death is not an endpoint, but a temporary state of being, a pause button to be pressed when the world becomes too hostile. They are the masters of suspended animation, the living proof that the boundary between life and non-life is a thin, permeable veil. How can a living creature endure being boiled, frozen solid, and exposed to the vacuum of space, only to awaken, shake itself off, and carry on as if nothing has happened? The answer lies with one of the smallest, and yet most resilient animals on our planet. Let us shrink our perspective now, down to the microscopic level. We find ourselves in a drop of water on a piece of moss in a quiet garden. You could find this creature anywhere, from the highest peaks of the Himalayas to the deepest trenches of the ocean, from the scorching sands of the desert to the frozen soil of Antarctica. They are in the puddles in your driveway, the soil of your houseplants. In this tiny shimmering world, a creature is lumbering along, its movements slow and deliberate. It is less than a millimetre long, a plump segmented body with 8 stubby legs, each tipped with 4 to 8 tiny claws. It has a clumsy, endearing gait, like a tiny bear ambling through the forest. This is the tardigrade, known more affectionately as the water bear, or the moss piglet. In its active state, it is a charming, harmless creature, feeding on plant cells or smaller invertebrates. It is, in this form, as vulnerable as any other microscopic animal, but when its world turns against it, the tardigrade reveals its superpower. Imagine the patch of moss begins to dry out under the heat of the sun. The drop of water, the tardigrade's entire universe, begins to evaporate. For any other creature, this would be a death sentence, their cells rupturing as the water within them vanishes. But for the tardigrade, it is merely a cue. It begins to produce unique proteins, molecules that are intrinsically disordered like microscopic strands of cooked spaghetti. These proteins begin to fill its cells, forming a protective, gel-like matrix. It then begins to retract its legs into its body. Its body curls inwards, contracting into a tight, desiccated ball. It expels nearly all of the water from its cells, over 97% of it, a process that would tear any other animal apart. It replaces that vital water with unique sugars, like trehalose, which, along with those special proteins, form a glass-like solid state inside its cells, a process called vitrification. This glassy cocoon locks all its delicate cellular machinery, its DNA, its proteins, its membranes, in place, preventing them from breaking, tearing, or unfolding. Its metabolism slows to less than 1/100th of 1% of its normal rate. It has, for all intents and purposes, ceased to be alive. It has entered a state of suspended animation known as cryptobiosis. It has become a ton. In this ton state, the tardigrade is virtually indestructible. It is a tiny, lifeless speck of dust, impervious to the world around it. It is a masterpiece of suspended life. You could drop it into boiling water, and the glassy matrix within its cells would hold its delicate parts together. You could freeze it in liquid nitrogen to temperatures approaching absolute zero, a cold so profound that all atomic motion nearly ceases, and it would feel nothing. The glass would hold. You could subject it to pressures 6 times greater than those found in the deepest ocean trench, a weight that would implode the most advanced submarine, and its vitrified cells would not yield. You could expose it to levels of X-ray and gamma radiation 100 times the lethal dose for a human, energies that would shred our DNA into confetti, and its own genetic code would be held fast, protected by the glassy shield. In 2007, Tins were taken into low Earth orbit on a satellite and exposed to the hard vacuum and cosmic radiation of open space for 10 days. They endured conditions that no other animal could. When they were returned to Earth and rehydrated, many of them revived, repaired the significant radiation damage to their DNA with remarkable efficiency, and even went on to reproduce successfully. The tardigrade, in its ton state, is a living time capsule. It is not aging, it is not consuming energy, it is simply waiting. It is a silent passenger on the winds, a speck of dust that could travel between continents, or perhaps even between worlds. It can remain in this state for decades, perhaps even centuries, a silent testament to the power of endurance. And then, when conditions are right again, when a drop of water returns to its world, the magic happens. The tiny desiccated ball begins to absorb the water. The process of vitrification reverses. The glassy matrix dissolves. The cells swell to their normal, plump state. Its metabolism, dormant for an age, flickers and restarts. And within a few minutes, sometimes even seconds, the tardigrade is lumbering along again, as if it has just awoken from a brief nap. its impossible journey through fire and ice, and the void of space nothing more than a distant, forgotten dream. The tardigrade teaches us that survival is not always about fighting back. Sometimes it is about surrender. It is about letting go of the very things that define life, water, movement, metabolism, in order to preserve the potential for life. It is an existence that transcends our linear understanding of time, a life that can be paused indefinitely. But the tardigrade's journey is a pause, a state of suspended animation from which it returns to the same life it left behind. What if a creature could do more than just pause its life? What if it could actually turn back the clock, not just survive in damage or old age, but actively reversing it, becoming young again? For this, we return to the sunlit, gentle waters of the ocean, and to a creature we have met before, but whose miracle deserves a deeper contemplation. The immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis dornii. We have spoken of its ability to revert from its adult medusa stage back to its juvenile polyp stage. But let us now consider the profound, almost magical transformation that occurs at the very core of its being, at the cellular level. This is not just healing. This is not regeneration, like a lizard regrowing its tail. This is a complete biological reboot, a journey backwards through its own lifeline. Imagine the adult jellyfish, a beautiful, bell-shaped creature, no bigger than your thumbnail, has lived its life. It has pulsed through the currents, it has fed, it has reproduced, but now it has become old. Its bell is tattered, its movements are slow, or perhaps it has been grievously injured by a predator, a large chunk of its body torn away, or maybe it is simply starving in a patch of barren water. For any other creature, this is the end. Its cells would begin to fail, its life would ebb away, but for Turritopsis, this is a trigger. It is a signal not to die, but to be reborn. It initiates a process called transdifferentiation. It sinks to the seafloor, its bell folding inwards, its tentacles retracting. It becomes a small blob-like cyst. Within this cyst, a cellular revolution takes place. Its cells, which were once highly specialized, contractile muscle cells for pulsing its bell, stinging nematocytes for capturing prey, sensory nerve cells for navigating its world, begin to lose their identity. A muscle cell does not simply repair itself. It ceases to be a muscle cell. It travels backwards in its own developmental history, switching off the genes that made it a muscle cell and switching on genes that return it to a more basic, undifferentiated state, much like a stem cell in a human embryo. It is as if a master architect, faced with a crumbling cathedral, decided not to patch the cracks, but to command each and every stone to forget it was a stone, to revert to raw clay, and then from that clay to build a brand new chapel. From this small cyst of de-differentiated cells on the ocean floor, a new polyp begins to grow. It is a new beginning, built from the ruins of the old. The very cells that once formed the tentacles of the old jellyfish might now be repurposed to become the stalk of the new polyp. The cells that were once its bell might form the budding sites from which new, genetically identical jellyfish will eventually emerge, like tiny blossoms on a stalk. The jellyfish has not just healed itself, it has been reborn from its own dying flesh. It has snatched biological immortality from the jaws of death. Let your mind drift on the philosophical implications of this. We see our lives as a straight line, a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Our identity is built upon a foundation of accumulated memories and experiences, a continuous stream of consciousness. But what is the identity of a creature that can endlessly recycle itself? Is the new polyp the same individual as the jellyfish that created it? Or is it a clone, an offspring born of a single parent? It is both, and it is neither. It is a life lived not as a line, but as a perfect, unending circle. Does it remember its past life as a medusa? Almost certainly not. Its nervous system is dismantled and rebuilt. So with each rebirth is a self lost. The immortal jellyfish offers a vision of life without end, but it is an existence that may be without memory, without a continuous sense of self. It is a life of constant renewal, but perhaps also of constant loss. A beautiful, haunting loop of becoming without ever truly, finally being. It forces us to ask what we truly value about our own lives. Is it the length, or is it the journey? The immortal jellyfish has conquered death as an endpoint, but in doing so, it has embraced a form of existence that is profoundly alien to our own sense of self. It is a life of serene cyclical perfection. But survival does not always have to be so dynamic. What of the creatures that survive not by changing or reversing, but by an act of supreme, monumental patience, waiting out the hard times in a state of suspended life, sealed in a tomb of their own making? Let us travel now to the vast, sun-baked landscapes of the Australian outback. This is a world of boom and bust. For long, agonizing periods, the land is scorched, arid, and seemingly lifeless. The air shimmers with heat. The sun beats down with a relentless physical ferocity. The earth cracks into a mosaic of deep fissures. The rivers turn to winding canyons of dust. And then, for a brief, glorious period, the rains come. The landscape explodes with life. The dry riverbeds swell into raging torrents. And from deep within the parched earth, life emerges. One of these creatures is the Australian water-holding frog. During the wet season, it lives a typical frog's life, splashing in the temporary pools, its green skin glistening, feasting on the sudden abundance of insects and other small creatures. But it is living on borrowed time, and it knows it. As the rains begin to subside and the pools begin to shrink back from the cracked earth, the frog knows it is time to prepare for the long sleep. It eats voraciously, building up fat reserves, its body swelling. And then, as the last of the water evaporates into the hot, dry air, it begins to dig. Using its powerful spade-like hind legs, it burrows deep into the soft mud of the riverbed, sometimes as far as a meter down, into the cool, dark, and still damp earth, where the sun's killing heat cannot reach. And here, in its subterranean chamber, it begins its extraordinary transformation. It sheds its skin, not once, but multiple times. But it does not slough off these old layers. It keeps them attached, creating a multi-layered, waterproof cocoon of its own dead skin, sealed with a thick layer of secreted mucus. This cocoon envelops its entire body like a form-fitting, watertight burial shroud. Only its nostrils remain clear, pressed against the soil. This is its sarcophagus, a perfect biological bag that will prevent it from losing any precious moisture to the dry soil around it. Sealed in its tomb of skin, the frog enters a state of deep dormancy called estivation. Its heart rate slows to a crawl, a faint, sporadic flutter. Its breathing becomes almost imperceptible. Its metabolism drops to a bare minimum, just enough to keep its cells from dying. To survive without water, it allows waste products like urea to build up in its tissues, turning its own body into a salty sponge that helps to retain every last molecule of water. It is living off its stored fat, a slow, patient burn of energy that can last for years. In this state, the frog can survive for 5 years, perhaps even longer, a living time capsule, buried beneath the sun-scorched earth. It is completely oblivious to the world above, to the changing seasons, to the passing of time. It is in a state of profound, patient waiting. It is not dead, but it is barely alive. It is a living promise of future rain. And then, one day, something changes. Faint vibrations begin to travel through the soil, the sound of distant thunder, a low rumble that is more felt than heard, the patter of the first heavy raindrops on the hard-baked earth. The water begins to soak down, deep into the ground, a slow, cool percolation that eventually reaches the frog's chamber. This is the signal it has been waiting for. The moisture begins to soften its cocoon. The frog begins to stir from its ancient slumber. Its heart begins to beat a little faster. It uses its head to break free from its prison of skin, which it then often eats, a final nutritious meal to break its long fast. It claws its way back to the surface, emerging into a transformed world, a world of water and life and abundance. It emerges from its grave, blinking in the new light, ready to begin its life anew. The water-holding frog is a master of endurance. Its survival strategy is one of ultimate patience, of a deep, unshakable faith that the rains will, eventually, return. It is a creature that has learned to outlast the harshest of conditions by simply stopping, by building itself a tomb and waiting for the resurrection that it knows will come. Its life is a powerful metaphor for hope, for the idea that even in the most barren and desolate of times, life persists hidden away, waiting for its moment to emerge once more into the light. The tardigrade, the immortal jellyfish, the water-holding frog. Each of these creatures has found a different path to conquering the impossible. The tardigrade pauses life, stepping outside of time itself to endure the unendurable. The immortal jellyfish reverses it, refusing to accept the finality of aging and decay. The water-holding frog waits it out, entombing itself in a state of patient faith. They are all extremophiles, life forms that have colonized the very edges of what is possible, pushing the known boundaries of biology. Their existence challenges our most fundamental assumptions about life and death. They show us that life is not a fragile flame, easily extinguished, but a tenacious, adaptable, and endlessly creative force. They are living paradoxes, creatures that achieve a form of immortality, not through strength, but through surrender, not through fighting, but through a profound and elegant acceptance of their environment. They have mastered not just their surroundings, but the very essence of their own biology. As you lie here now, drifting in the quiet space between wakefulness and sleep, consider the resilience that is encoded into the fabric of life itself. The same life force that animates the indestructible tardigrade, that renews the immortal jellyfish, that awakens the patient frog, is within you. It is the quiet, persistent, and powerful drive to exist, to endure, and to continue. Let this thought be a source of deep, restful peace. The world is filled with miracles of survival, with quiet, unassuming testaments to the incredible power of life. And you are a part of this incredible, resilient, and beautiful story. There is nothing left to do now but to rest, to let go, and to trust in the quiet, enduring strength of your own life. We have witnessed the impossible. We have seen life pause, rewind, and wait with infinite patience, conquering the very limits of existence. The tardigrade, the immortal jellyfish, the desert frog. They have shown us that the drive to live is a force of incredible, almost supernatural power. But what is the purpose of such resilience? Why endure the vacuum of space, or the crushing abyss, or the endless drought? The answer, in nearly every case, is for a chance to participate in the most fundamental and powerful creative act in the universe, the act of passing life on. The drive to survive is ultimately in service to the drive to reproduce. And it is this drive that has inspired some of the most bizarre, most beautiful, and most terrifying behaviors in the entire animal kingdom. So let us drift now from the world of survival to the world of courtship, a realm of strange love and desperate measures. What masterpieces of art, what acts of devotion, and what ultimate sacrifices are made in the name of love. We often think of evolution as a brutal contest for survival, a red in tooth and claw battle against the elements and predators. But there is another, equally powerful force at play, a force that favors not the most ruthless, but the most beautiful, the most charismatic, the most creative. This force is called sexual selection. It is the reason for the peacock's tail, the lion's mane, the nightingale's song. It is an evolutionary theatre where males and females are both audience and critic, and the performance is a matter of life, death, and legacy. The costumes are intricate, the songs are complex, and the dances are choreographed with breathtaking precision. And for our first act, we shrink down to the forest floor of Australia to witness a performance so vibrant and so risky, it is almost beyond belief. Imagine you are standing in a world of giants, on a bed of dried leaves and twigs. A tiny creature, no bigger than a grain of rice, is preparing for the most important moment of its life. This is the male peacock spider, a member of the Maratus genus. For most of the year, he is a drab, camouflaged hunter, concerned only with finding his next meal. But now, with the shift in seasons, he is transformed. On his abdomen, he carries a flap of hardened cuticle, and on it is a painted masterpiece. This is not pigment like the paint on a canvas. This is structural colour. The light that hits his scales is fractured and reflected by microscopic, three-dimensional structures, creating iridescent colours of an impossible purity, colours that shift and shimmer with every tiny movement. It is a work of art that would rival a human artist, a dazzling mosaic of sapphire blues, fiery reds, electric oranges, and stark geometric patterns of black and white. This is his courtship banner, and he is about to unfurl it. He has spotted a female. She is larger than he is, with 8 large black forward-facing eyes that miss nothing. She is a formidable predator, and at this moment she is the sole arbiter of his fate. To her, he is not yet a potential mate, he is a potential meal. His task is to convince her otherwise, and his only tools are his beauty and his dance. And so it begins. He raises his third pair of legs, decorated with white bristles, as if in formal salute. He begins to vibrate his body, a percussive rhythm that travels through the leaf litter, a drumming that she can feel through her own legs. It is the first notes of his song, a declaration of his presence and his intent. Then he raises his vibrant abdominal flap, lifting it up like a magnificent fan, revealing the full glory of his colours to her multi-lensed gaze. And he dances. It is not a simple jig. It is a complex choreographed routine with multiple distinct movements, a language unique to his species. There are over 90 known species of peacock spider, and each has its own signature costume and its own signature dance. He sidesteps back and forth, a move that looks like a tiny 8-legged salsa, his movements sharp and precise. He waves his raised legs in intricate semaphore patterns, a secret code meant only for her. He claps his pedipalps, the small appendages near his mouth, adding another layer to the rhythm. He shuffles and vibrates, his entire body a symphony of movement and colour, perfectly synchronized. His every motion is designed to mesmerize the female, to hold her attention, to showcase his health, his genetic fitness, his quality as a potential father to her offspring. The iridescent scales on his abdomen flash and change colour with every slight shift in angle, a living, breathing light show in the dappled sunlight of the forest floor. The female watches, her large eyes processing every detail. She is the ultimate critic. Her brain is wired to appreciate this specific dance, this specific pattern of colour. It is a lock for which only he has the key. His performance is an honest signal. A less healthy male could not produce such vibrant colours. A weaker male could not sustain such a frantic, high-energy dance. He must be perfect. A single misstep, a moment of flawed rhythm, a colour that is not quite bright enough, and the female will make her decision. If she is not impressed, or if she mistakes his dance for the clumsy movements of prey, she will lunge, and his performance, and his life, will be over in an instant. But if he is successful, if his colours are dazzling enough, his dance hypnotic enough, she will be receptive. She may even mirror some of his movements, a signal of her approval. She will allow him to approach and to mate, to pass on the genes that code for his brilliant colours and his perfect choreography. He has stared into the face of death, and through the power of his art, has instead found creation. It is a performance of ultimate risk for the ultimate reward. This tiny spider's dance is a form of living art. But what if an animal's artistry was not on its own body, but was an external creation? What if a suitor, instead of dancing with his own form, built a gallery, a curated museum of treasures, all to win the affection of a single, discerning critic? Let us fly now to the forests of New Guinea and Australia, where a different kind of artist is at work. This is the bowerbird. The male bowerbird is, in himself, a rather plain-looking bird, often a simple brown or grey. His beauty is not in his feathers, it is in his mind, and in the incredible structures he builds. He is not a nest builder. The female will handle that mundane task on her own later. What he creates is a bower, a structure used for one purpose and one purpose only, to attract a mate. It is a physical extension of his mind, an advertisement of his cognitive prowess. Imagine a small clearing in the forest. A male satin bowerbird has spent weeks, perhaps months, on his creation. He has built what is known as an avenue-type bower, two parallel walls of twigs, perfectly arranged, forming a neat little walkway. The construction is precise, the twigs carefully selected for size and shape, and woven together with remarkable skill, but the structure itself is just the canvas. The true art is in the decoration. This particular species, the satin bowerbird, is obsessed with the colour blue. It is a deep, instinctual aesthetic preference. He has scoured the forest for miles, searching for objects of this specific hue. His bower is a gallery of blue treasures. There are the iridescent blue wing casings of beetles, the bright blue tail feathers of other birds, carefully arranged clusters of blue berries, and, in areas where humans are near, his collection becomes even more surreal. Blue plastic bottle caps, blue ballpoint pens, blue laundry pegs, blue pieces of string, blue shards of glass from broken bottles. He arranges these objects with the meticulous eye of an interior designer, clustering them by the entrance to his bower, creating a visual pathway that draws the eye. He seems to understand perspective, placing smaller objects closer to the avenue and larger ones further away, creating an optical illusion that makes his collection look even more impressive. He may even take the juice from the berries and use it to paint the inside walls of his bower, using a wad of leaves as a paintbrush. He is relentless in his pursuit of perfection. He will rearrange his treasures constantly, seeking the most pleasing composition. He will spend hours moving a single bottle cap a few millimeters to the left, then back to the right. He will steal blue objects from the bowers of his rivals, a form of artistic espionage, waiting for his neighbour to be away before darting in to purloin a prized pen lid. His bower is his life's work, a physical manifestation of his intelligence, his dexterity, his dedication, and his memory of where to find the rarest treasures. Other species of bowerbird have different aesthetics. The Vogelkop bowerbird builds a large hut-like structure and decorates it with piles of objects sorted by colour. A pile of shiny black beetle shells here, a pile of bright orange flowers there, a mound of green moss over there. Each species is a different school of art. When a female satin bowerbird arrives, she will not look at him at first. She will inspect his bower. She will walk through the avenue, her head cocked, examining the quality of the construction, the rarity and brilliance of his blue collection. The male will often pick up one of his favourite objects in his beak and perform a frantic, buzzing dance for her, his eyes dilating in excitement. He might mimic the calls of other, more dangerous birds, a display of his vocal prowess. She is judging his artistry, his ability to accumulate resources, his fitness. If his gallery is pleasing to her, if his sense of aesthetics aligns with her own, she will accept him as a mate. If not, she will fly away, leaving him to rearrange his gallery and hope for a more appreciative critic. The bowerbird shows us that the drive to reproduce can create not just physical beauty, but complex cognitive abilities, a sense of aesthetics, and a form of architectural art. It is a love story written in twigs and treasure, but these displays, as beautiful as they are still safe. The risk is rejection. What happens when the act of love demands not just artistry, but the ultimate sacrifice of the self? For this, we must return to the crushing, eternal darkness of the deep sea and to the anglerfish. We have spoken of her lonely life, her glowing lure, but now we must consider the full, horrifying reality of her mate. The male deep-sea anglerfish is a creature born for a single suicidal quest. He hatches into the vast, cold blackness as a tiny, free-swimming larva. His body is a stripped-down vessel, built for one purpose. He has no need for a glowing lure, no powerful jaws for hunting. He has only a highly developed sense of smell. His eyes are large and sensitive, and he possesses a desperate, all-consuming drive to find a female in the vast, empty blackness of the abyss. He is a needle searching for a single, specific needle in an ocean-sized haystack. He follows the faint trail of her species-specific pheromones through the water, a journey that can take his entire life. He swims through a world of unimaginable pressure and cold, a world where any passing shadow could be a predator. His own life is a race against starvation, as his own digestive system is often underdeveloped. He must find her before his energy reserves run out. When he finally, miraculously, finds her, an immense, monstrous goddess in the dark, perhaps hundreds of times his size, he does not perform a dance. He does not build her a bower, he bites her, he sinks his teeth into her side, and he holds on with all his might. And then, a horrific transformation begins, a cascade of enzymatic and hormonal changes. An enzyme in his saliva dissolves his own skin and the skin of the female at the point of contact. Their tissues merge, their circulatory systems fuse together. He has become one with her. He loses his own eyes, which are now useless. He loses his fins. His internal organs, including his heart, wither away, their functions outsourced to her larger, more powerful body. He becomes little more than a parasitic appendage, a living pair of testes permanently attached to her body, drawing all of his nourishment directly from her blood. He has sacrificed his individuality, his autonomy, his very existence as a separate being for the chance to reproduce. He is now just a part of her, a biological organ that she will carry for the rest of her life, sometimes accumulating multiple males on her body, a collection of former individuals. From a human perspective, it is a nightmare, a loss of self so complete it is difficult to fathom, but from an evolutionary standpoint, it is a perfect solution to an impossible problem. In the vastness of the deep sea, finding a mate is a near miracle. By fusing with her, the male ensures that when she is ready to spawn, he will be there. He has made the ultimate sacrifice, trading his life for a guarantee of fatherhood. It is a form of love that is absolute, a commitment that is written in flesh and blood, a union that is truly and terrifyingly forever. This complete and total sacrifice of the self is one path. But what if identity itself was not fixed? What if, to ensure the continuation of the family, an animal could change its most fundamental characteristic, its sex? Let us rise from the abyss and drift into the warm, sunlit waters of a coral reef, into the gently waving, venomous tentacles of a sea anemone. This anemone is a fortress, and living within its deadly embrace is a family of clownfish, a vibrant splash of orange and white against the reef. They are immune to the anemone's sting, covered in a protective layer of mucus. Their social structure is a rigid, unchangeable hierarchy, enforced by subtle displays of dominance and submission. The largest and most dominant fish in the group is the female. She is the queen. The second largest is the breeding male, her consort. All the other, smaller fish in the anemone are non-breeding males, their growth and sexual development suppressed by the presence of the dominant pair. They are a stable, functioning family unit, living in their pulsating, floral castle. But what happens if the queen, the dominant female, is eaten by a predator or dies of old age? The family is thrown into crisis. There is no breeding female. The entire colony's future is at risk, but the clownfish have a remarkable solution. The breeding male, the second in command, begins to change. The social pressure is gone. A hormonal cascade begins. His body undergoes a profound transformation. He begins to grow larger, and internally a revolution takes place. His male reproductive organs wither away, and dormant female reproductive organs, which all clownfish are born with, develop and become active. He changes his sex. He becomes the new breeding female, the new queen of the anemone. The largest of the non-breeding males will then grow, mature, and become the new breeding male, stepping up to take his old place. The hierarchy is restored. The family can continue. This process, known as sequential hermaphroditism, is a brilliant evolutionary strategy. It ensures that the family unit always has a breeding pair, that no time is wasted searching for a new mate. But consider the experience of that fish. A life lived first as a male and then as a female, an identity that is not fixed, but fluid, shaped by social necessity. It challenges our own deeply ingrained ideas about gender and identity, showing us that in the natural world, these concepts can be far more malleable than we imagine. The clownfish's transformation is not a choice, but a biological imperative, a sacrifice of one identity for the good of the group, ensuring that the story of their family continues. The sacrifices we have seen so far, of identity, of autonomy, are profound. But what of the ultimate sacrifice? The willing offering of one's own life in the very act of creating new life. Let us return to the sun-dappled world of a summer garden and to the praying mantis. We have seen this creature before as a patient hunter, but now we see it as a lover. The male, smaller and more slender than the female, approaches with a caution that borders on reverence. He knows that he is not just a suitor, but also a potential meal. The female is a voracious predator, and the drive to feed is as powerful as the drive to mate. If his approach is clumsy, if her hunger is great, his life will end before his purpose is fulfilled. He may spend hours slowly, carefully circling her, waiting for the perfect moment. He mounts her, and the act of insemination begins. This is the moment of truth. In many cases, the mating is successful, and the male will make a hasty retreat, living to mate another day. But often enough to be infamous, the ultimate sacrifice is made. The female may turn her head, her powerful mandibles reaching back, and she will begin to eat him, starting with his head. But the male's body, even without its brain, is not deterred. His nervous system is designed to allow his reproductive functions to continue, even to be enhanced, after decapitation. The removal of his head severs inhibitory signals from his brain, making his mating efforts even more vigorous. He continues his work, delivering the sperm that will fertilize her eggs. He is being consumed, yet he is also creating. His death is not a failure, it is his final and most vital contribution. The nutrients from his body, his final nuptial gift, will go directly into nourishing the female, giving her the strength and resources to produce a large, healthy egg sac. His own flesh and blood will become the building blocks of his children. He has become the first meal for the next generation. It is an act of sexual cannibalism that seems gruesome to us, but it is, in its own way, an act of supreme parental care. He has sacrificed his present for their future. His love story ends in his own consumption, a final, intimate act of creation and self-destruction, ensuring that his legacy, at least, will survive. We have travelled so far tonight, on a journey through the strange and unsettling, the beautiful and the bizarre. We began with lives so alien they seemed like nightmare fuel, the anglerfish in its dark pressure, the immortal jellyfish in its endless loop. We ventured into the world of parasites, the silent puppeteers that steal the will and the very bodies of their hosts. We plunged into the abyssal plains, meeting the ghosts and living fossils of the deep sea. We witnessed the impossible resilience of the extremophiles, the tiny beings that treat death as a temporary inconvenience. And finally, we have seen the incredible lengths to which life will go in the name of love, in the desperate, beautiful, and sometimes horrifying drive to continue. Now, as our journey comes to an end, let all of these images drift and merge in your mind. Picture a vast, quiet landscape at twilight. The deep ocean, the forest floor, the scorched desert, and the sunlit garden are not separate worlds, but rooms in the same great mysterious house. The air is still and cool. In the distance, you can hear the faint melodic song of a bird, a song crafted by a million years of desire. On a leaf, a tiny peacock spider sleeps, its brilliant colours folded away like a secret, dreaming perhaps of its dance. Deep in the earth, a water-holding frog rests in its silent chamber, a living vessel of patience, waiting for a rain that will surely come. And in the deepest, darkest ocean, a faint, solitary light pulses, a beacon of hope and hunger, a testament to life's persistence in the most desolate of places. A female anglerfish carrying the memory of her long-lost mate within her own body. All of these lives, from the parasite to the predator, from the survivor to the suitor, are threads in a single, immense tapestry. A tapestry woven with darkness and light, with struggle and art, with sacrifice and renewal. And you are a part of it. Your own life, your own breath, is a thread in this grand cosmic design. Feel the weight of your body, a gentle, comforting pressure against the surface below you. Feel the rhythm of your breathing, a slow, steady tide, pulling in peace and releasing all tension. You are safe, you are at peace, and you are connected to all the strange, wondrous, and resilient life on this planet. Let this connection be a comfort, a quiet lullaby from the heart of the world itself. There is nothing left to do now, nothing left to see, only the gentle, quiet, peaceful darkness. Drift now and sleep.